out. Obviously, no one lets me play with matches. Hold someone's feet to the fire. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And I'm going to blow those out because they're very hot. And nobody lets me play with matches because, for a lot of reasons. This is a little thing that my daughter and my son-in-law gave me, which I absolutely love. It's for cooking. You put it on a pot so the lid is a little bit off so things don't boil over. And I have a tendency to boil things over, so it's a really good thing for me to personally have. But it was a little guy whose feet I could put to the fire and not feel super guilty. I was going to use one of my granddaughter's dolls, and that seemed pretty creepy to me. But this idiom, this expression, hold someone's feet to the fire to supersize and grow your business, is got a pretty creepy, pretty awful origin. It comes from the medieval times of torture when they would literally burn people's feet with fire, or they would make metal grates and they'd tie them to metal grates and they would light their feet on fire and melt the skin off their feet. Totally gruesome, terrible, terrible things that people would do to other human beings to get them to talk, to get them to divulge information, or to just torture them for whatever reason, as, you know, prisoners or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of heinous, evil behavior in human beings. I hate to think about it and admit it, but there actually is. So that's where this idiom actually came from. It came from the literally holding people's feet to the fire. I can't remember his name, but he's got a cute little name too. Something, you know, it's like Flat Stanley, but not. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, they're little pot things, and they have their little feet in the hot water, or their little faces and hands in the hot water to keep the lid off the pot so your pots don't boil over. So what does this have to do with growing and building and supersizing our business? You need a magnifying glass and a sip of coffee. Hot fire coffee. And how do we even care about this? What does it mean? It's gone from meaning literally torturing people to holding people accountable for the things that they're responsible for. So making sure that they do what they say they're going to do, which is a big one for me. Under promise, over deliver. Under promise, over deliver. I got that from corporate America, where we had sales teams that would over promise things that we couldn't even deliver ever because they weren't technologically possible. Yet we had to go back then as executives and the quality directors and vice president to explain to the people that we had sold something to why we were giving them a bunch of money back, because we couldn't actually do what our salespeople said that we could do. And I got a bad taste in my mouth from that particular set of experiences, and decided that, you know what, don't overpromise. Don't tell people that you can do things and then not do them. Just got a taste of that again from bought a product and am still waiting for it to show up, right? Prepaid for it, which means they haven't even manufactured or made it yet. And so when is it going to show up? I don't know. There'll be some excuse that some raw material isn't available that needs to go into the product, and that's why it's taking so long. Anyway, an example of definitely overpromising, overselling, and still waiting for the product to show up. So how do we and whose feet do we want to hold to the fire as we're growing and building and supersizing our business? Number one, hard to admit, but ourselves, right? We need to hold ourselves accountable and responsible to set the example, to do what we say we're going to do, to under promise but over deliver in everything that we do. Because if we do that, other people in our organization will do it. Will everybody? No, that's not very realistic, but more people will than don't. And so all of a sudden your culture becomes that, and that's what we want to do by setting the example. So how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you hold yourself responsible? How do you demonstrate that for the people in your organization? That's one of the first things to think about. And then as far as holding other people accountable and responsible, how do we do that? I've found a quick 6-step process for that, because I'm big on processes. This is pretty much what I do. Maybe not in this exact order, but I like to use other people's expertise and share that, so it doesn't feel like it's just me spouting off my own opinions and thoughts all the time. Although the vast majority of the time it is that, because that's what I want to stimulate with this particular segment. Here's something, think about what it means to you, then think about what it might mean to the people that you're interacting with, and how you can use it to grow and build and supersize your business. So this is a good process. And again, these steps I use, I say goals, feedback, compensation, product development, personal development, systems, processes, and procedures, expectations, sharing, feedback, and leadership. Well, the process is Start with yourself. Yep, because guess what? Everything begins with us, because the only thing we can actually control in the whole wide world is ourselves, right? We only have 100% control over ourselves. Our experiences, well, maybe not our experiences, but our reaction to our experiences, our choices, our decisions, our thoughts, our feelings, and beliefs. They're unique to us. So we have to start with ourselves when it comes to holding ourselves accountable and holding our own feet to the fire. If you don't hold yourself accountable, guess what? How do you expect anyone else to be accountable and responsible in your organization? It's not going to happen, because people always do what they see us do, whether we're talking that and saying that or not. They will do what we do, not what we tell them to do. Number 2, set clear expectations with yourself and with other people. That's one of the first things I do whenever I bring someone on board. I set expectations before I bring them on board, and then if they come on board with our organization, we sit down, and the first meeting we have is, hey, what can I do to help you? What expectations do you have of me? And then I share my expectations of them. I've been doing that for decades now, and guess what? It saves so many misunderstandings. It prevents so many problems. It's well worth the time to do that. Number 3, establish performance standards. If people don't know what the standard is for behavior and performance for their job and for interacting with one another, etc., how are they expected to meet that standard? We can't have invisible standards for people. Obtain commitment. Get people's, and that's another thing I do the first meeting, I get them to commit to sharing our expectations and then meeting one another's expectations. 5, follow up, and then follow up some more. Follow up is one of the most underutilized tools that we all have at our disposal. Ask questions, follow up, see if you can help. It's not that hard. And finally, assess performance. And we do that through different tools like performance reviews, feedback. I believe feedback should be ongoing. If somebody does something that you have a question about, ask them right away. Don't wait a couple of days. Ask them when it's fresh in their memory and yours. Because guess what? Chances are they have a good reason for why and how they did a particular thing. And just because I don't understand it doesn't mean they're wrong. They're probably right. So I want to make sure that I share my expectations, that I hold people accountable, and do all those things as well. So share in the comments below how you hold your own feet to the fire, or how you hold other people accountable, and go out and make it an awesome day. I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Hopefully not as gruesome as this one. Where does it come from? I guess is gruesome. And because I don't think it's gruesome to hold people accountable. Guess what? We're all ultimately responsible and accountable for all of our actions. Everything we do, everything we say, everything we think. And it's not for other people to judge. It's for, whatever you believe in to judge. That's it. Have a great day. And I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.